Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. We are here having a conversation about fatherhood. Yes, I thought we'd change it up a little bit. We always have conversation about relationships. Always have conversation about boys and girls and all this kind of stuff. So I thought I'd change it up a little bit. Get us men to have a real dialogue and conversation. I was actually inspired to have this conversation when I also came on to Emmanuel and Alex's podcast earlier on was it this month as well? We had a podcast we came on to.
No, last month.
It was last month. You see how the time is flying? It's crazy. I thought it was this month. And we had a really good conversation. It was on the Fathers to Fathers podcast, which is a really good podcast. They talk about everything fatherhood, parents, and everything like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, listen, please check out Fathers to Fathers podcast. There's amazing stuff out there. But let my guests introduce themselves as always. Let you get to know them a little bit, and then we'll kick off the conversation about fatherhood. I mean, the expectations versus the reality. This is part one of a two-part. Next week we talk about how much of a role a father plays in a child's life. So, Alex, if I let you go first, introduce yourself. Let them know who you are, where they can find you. You know what I'm saying, and why you wearing a do-rag on your head. Is there do-rags or a nightcap? What do we call it nowadays? I don't know.
It's still do-rag, bro.
It's a do-rag, yeah? Just want to make sure I'm not out touching the kids.
Kind of fresh, you know what I'm saying? Don't keep them with fresh. But yeah, guys, my name is Alex. One of the co-founders of the Father to Fathers podcast. I'm also the founder of the Young Black Dads blog movement, whatever you want to call it. I'm 28. I'm father of one boy, great little kid. Yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. Emmanuel, drop in and tell us, man, who's Emmanuel, what are you about, and where can we find you to?
Hi guys, my name is Emmanuel. 29 years of age, I have to put it out there. Father of two. I'm a father of two. I've got a son and a daughter. Yes, I'm also an actor as well. So yeah, you can check out my acting stuff. You can find me on Instagram at Lawal91. Everything is in my bio that you need. And yeah, I'm founder of Father to Fathers podcast.
Okay. I appreciate that, boys. Thank you so much for accepting the call. I think we also got Ben in. If he can get his connection right, I'll get him one over there as well. Ben, you there, yeah? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Can you hear me, yeah?
We can hear you. It's a shame
he's an Arsenal fan. He's an Arsenal fan.
It's a shame he's wearing Arsenal top.
Get him off.
He's obviously going to be a good father. He's got patience.
There's always one.
Introduce yourself, Ben. Let them know where they can find you and what you're about, Ben.
I've got too much patience, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think his connection is behind us.
Yeah, lagging a bit.
So my name is Ben Ando. You can find me on Instagram as Mr. Ben Ando. Same on Twitter. I'm in full-time ministry. I'm a pastor, father of three. Yeah, I'm behind. Sorry, my thing's lagging, so you have to bear with me. So yeah, I'm a father of three. I'm also the founder of the Other Experience. So we bridge the gap between the church and the community, both in London, Ghana, Nigeria, and by God's grace, by the end of the year in the States. And so we go to the rural parts of Africa to spread the gospel, as well as in the UK. We work in the UK prisons to help reform lives and help them be transformed. And that's a little bit of what I do.
Appreciate that, Ben. Thank you as always. Appreciate that. Guess my first question I'm going to ask you guys and throw it out there quite tough is, what does it mean to you to be a father? What does it mean to you to be a father? If I throw that question at Emmanuel first, because he's slouching there looking all cool and stuff.
Can you hear me?
Emmanuel, answer the question. What does it mean to you to be a father?
You have to be selfless. I think, especially coming from a background where I never met my dad, or my dad was not really in my life. Being a father myself, the one thing I realized is you have to be selfless, and it's very, very easy to run away. Especially when it's not a situation you want to be in. You know, we all had that theory of fight or flight, and in this case, you know, you choose to fight. And every day is always a learning curve. You know, as mentioned previously before in other conversations, there's no manual guide to fatherhood. You learn on the job, you learn as you go. But the one thing I would definitely have to say is being selfless. There are times where you want to be selfish with your time, with your money, with everything here, but the kids come first, and you have to be selfless. That's my definition.
Alex, hit for that for me as well. Like, what would you say is, what would you say is, what does it mean to be a father?
I can't lie, Emmanuel said it pretty well, but I think my interpretation of what it means to be a father, it's a number of things, man. It's not just one thing. I think for me to be a father is to be a provider, and it's not just providing financially, but providing to my children spiritually and emotionally, so that they're growing up to be you know, great men and women of God that we've raised them to be. So for me, is fundamentally, for me, being a father is being a provider, but being a provider in all aspects of their lives, financially, emotionally, mentally, all of those things. Yeah.
Do you think for Ben's back. Okay, Ben, let me ask you a question. Hopefully you're in time. The question is, Ben, the question is, what does it mean to you to be a father? What does it mean to you?
So to me, can you hear me clearly? Yeah.
Oh, you're beautiful. I love it.
Perfect. So being a father is much more than just a title. I think some people tend to think, oh, fathers are those guys that they're just around. But being a father is being able to provide for, you know, your family, being there physically, emotionally, being you know, present for your kids, as well as it goes beyond just providing for money, if that makes sense. It's about making sure that you are emotionally attached to your kids, and just being available. You know, a father also is someone that can protect his family, you know, at all costs.
I appreciate it, man. I like that. I want to ask a question to you guys on the panel. Your childhoods. I don't want to go too deep because this is going to be part 2 of our lives, but I want to touch on it a little bit. Your childhoods, in terms of your experience with your fathers. I just want you to give us one thing that you are implementing from what you've experienced from any father figure you might have had, and one thing you're changing. Now, if you haven't had a father figure, then you can say that. That's fair enough. But one thing that you would implement in you becoming a father from what you've seen, and one thing that you're changing. If I go to Alex this time. Alex, you've looked down, so I chose you. You shouldn't have looked down.
Bro, even me, I was trying to think about the question as you were saying it. That's a really good question, bro. So one thing that I would implement that I've learned from someone, and one thing that I would change. You know what? I'm gonna go and use can we use TV characters, or does it have to be someone?
Listen, bro, whatever you learn, I don't mind where it come from.
You know what? I'm gonna use Uncle Phil from Will Smith. I know that's a very big cliche one to use, because, you know, in the Black community he's seen as like the father of all fathers and all type of stuff. But no, really and truly, he really kind of set the you know, watching him as a kid, I never really saw him as a father figure to me, but being older now and looking back at the shows and the scenes that he would do, he definitely sets the bar to me as kind of like what a father could potentially be. So I would say, you know, him being, you know, he gave a lot of tough love to his kids, to even Will Smith, who wasn't even his kid, but you could tell that he cared for every single one of them, and the reason why he was giving them such tough love was because he wanted them to do so well in life. You know what I mean? And it's that him being so successful as a judge and everything, He really was a good example to all of his kids as the type of person that they should reach to be. So for me, that's what it is I think being a great role model for my child, for my son to be, is what I aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? I want him to look up to me and be like, wow, my dad he's gone and done this and he's helped this amount of people. This is what I want to try and do and even exceed that. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely I would say Uncle Phil would be that. In terms of things that I would change,
just one
thing. I think, with me being Nigerian, and coming from an African background, we have this very strict hierarchy. So there's certain things that you can't say or do with the parents. You can't joke in a certain way with the parents because they're gonna take it offensive. That type of pride that they have. I kind of want to get rid of that, because it makes things harder for kids to be able to talk to their parents about things that they really should be having conversations about. Maybe they feel like, and it's weird because Nigerian parents will expect the child to tell them everything, but not put the relationship in place for them to actually be able to do so. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely want to disregard that, and put that aside, put that kind of relationship barrier hierarchy thing aside, and just be very open with your kids about everything. Like me and my son, we have a great relationship. He can literally ask me any question. We joke all the time. It's more like I guess I would say it's like a brotherly type of relationship more than a father and son relationship. But I like it that way because he can literally be himself and tell me whatever he wants, and isn't going to be fearful of how I'm going to react to that. So yeah, definitely that.
Appreciate it, Alex. Ben, if I come to you first, then the question that we're asking, in a sense, is one thing that you've learned from either a father figure, doesn't have to literally be actual fathers, but a father figure that you've taken on, one thing that you would implement into your parenting or you being a father, and one thing that you've also seen or learned from a father figure, in a sense, that you're changing for you becoming a father.
For me, I didn't really have a father growing up. I was later adopted by my uncle. So I kind of learnt later on in life about being a father. And so what I did learn from my biological father, who was never around, and from my stepdad, who me and him never had that relationship, I learned never to do what they did, which was never be present. Obviously I have, before I got married, I had two kids beforehand, and so that was kind of like a trait that I had learned from my fathers, because it was like, okay, then if I'm not married to their mothers and all that stuff, I don't really see why I should be in their lives, not my children's lives, but you know what I'm saying, their mum's lives, for example. But what I realized was that I didn't want to continue the trait that my fathers had started, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so even though things weren't the prettiest of situations, I always tried. You get and then when I actually got married and I had my own child who I actually live with, I said to myself, because I have a daughter that is with me now and is present, I would do whatever it takes to always be present, to always be available. And even to my son as well, who doesn't live with me, but he comes to me whenever we can arrange something. Obviously COVID has just been a little bit of
Yeah,
a mess up,
madness.
but I'm always making sure that I'm available no matter what. And even if it's on the phone, like at least if I can call, make sure he's okay, check up on him. Like we've even designed like a WhatsApp group just to check up and find out. I've also designed a way that he can even spend more time at my mum's place because I live quite far. So at least if I can't see him, every weekend, I know that he's with my mum at least, 3, 4 times in the month. And then at least I can take him over to my house once a month or something like that and spend the weekend with him. So I've always wanted to make sure that being a father, or being around, I will always be present in whatever capacity I could do so, whether it's on the phone or being physical. And then having my own child at home as well, I just make sure that I don't want to continue certain traits. And I think this is something that we've just kind of seen, and I can only speak from an African household, like what my brother said as well. Like, it's always like the dad is like the king of the household. You can't come to the dad. Yeah, I'm saying. And so for me, I've made sure that I've broken that kind of mentality in my house where my daughter can come dip her hand in my food. I might be annoyed,
but I know that she's happy. You know what I'm saying? You know, these are the kind of things that we have to start implementing in our lives, and just being selfless with our kids, so that they feel like, okay, as I'm growing up, I can be much more open with my dad. Why? Because he's allowed me to be myself while growing. And it's not one of the things where you have to make an appointment with your dad. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it should never be like that. And unfortunately, it's like that in some of our households. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to wait for dad to come back home, wait for him to have a particular meal at what time, and just before he goes to bed, you can tell him. He will ask you, how was school? And you have to make sure that your sentence that you're gonna say, it fits well with what he's asked you, so you don't get in trouble. You get what I mean?
Catch him on a good
And
day.
so those are the kind of things that, you know, I grew up on, and I had to get to myself in a place where I was like, okay, I need to destroy that mentality where I don't even have to ask them, how was your day at school? They're just telling me anyways. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's the kind of environment that I wanted to build. Do I have any role models? Yeah, I did. As I said, I was adopted by my uncle, and I saw the way that he looked after his wife and his kids. A lot of us, we grow up with men who don't have women around, and so it was beautiful for me to see him look after his wife and his kids. So I always wanted to implement that into my own household. And you know, I think there was a saying, somebody was telling me about how, we need to start putting our kids first. For me, I kind of do the reverse. I want to make sure that my wife is happy who gave birth to my kids. Do you get where I'm coming from? Look after my wife so that my whole house is happy. And if my kids see that mum and dad are good, then my kids can also learn, okay, that my dad loves his mum. The same thing for my son. Even though that's not his mum, he loves my wife equally. Do you get what I'm saying? Why? Because he sees the way that I treat my wife now. Do you get where I'm coming from? And even the respect that I have for my son's mum and my daughter's mum as well. I respect them. Maybe the way that it started off wasn't, but as time goes on, you learn. And so now I have the utmost respect for all my kids' mothers, you know, because I started off wrong, but when I gave my life to Christ, things started to make sense. And so I realized that respect goes a long way. That's the best way that a father, that's what I said, not a dad, a father can present himself to his kids and to his family. So my uncle was a good role model. Jesus is always going to be the role model for me, you know, hands down. He's got the perfect example to look after his kids, you know. But yeah, that's it for me.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Manuel, let me ask the same question. We're asking the question in terms of one thing that you've picked up that you've learned from a father figure or role, a father figurehead role in your life that you'd implement, and one thing that you've picked up and learned that you would not take forward becoming a father as well.
Well, obviously, as I said earlier, I've never really had a father figure growing up till a bit later in my life. But if anything, it's taught me everything that I don't want in a father, or I don't want my children to go through. So, you know, even with a negative situation, I've managed to spin into a positive, and it's a sense of like, you know, I went through this. I'm not gonna allow my kids to go through this because I've experienced it firsthand, how it feels to not have a father figure or a role model in your life. The one thing that I've definitely not carry on as well is let children be children. I feel like when you come from an African household, there's, especially being the eldest, there's a certain level of expectations, or you need to be perfect. You are held accountable at an early age to behave a certain type of way, to do a certain type of things, to achieve a certain type of stuff by a certain age. And you have to realize that everybody wants their own individual race, you know, and also that thing, oh, stop crying, man up. Like, it's okay as for especially me having a son, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry. It's okay to come to me and say and express your emotions. And I feel like, in fact, both son and daughter, that it's okay to come to our parents here to express our emotion. And also the fact of, if you look at a lot of our generations now, a lot of the thing that they'll say to you is, oh, my mom don't get me, my dad don't get me, you know. And I want to break that barrier as well, in the sense of like, I want our children to be able to come to us and talk to us and have this open and honest conversation, even the uncomfortable conversation, sex, you know. Come and talk to me about it, because if you can't come to me, you know, you got to do what I did, which was go outside to my school friends or go on the internet and research false information. let's talk about it in the house. So yeah, I think everyone's covered it really. It's all about creating a safe space. I think that's what it is as well for me. Creating a safe space for our children to come to us and feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe at home, then as parents we are failing already. So that's me.
That's a deep one. I guess I want to even lead up from that question, from that even answer. You guys kind of gave similar answers about the way there was a lack of openness with father figures in our life, especially coming from an African household. So I think some of you have kind of touched on it, but I guess I want to hash it out a bit more. What are we doing then, or what do we do to implement, or what is the implementation that we put in to make it a safe space for our children to be able to come towards us? Like what are the things that we have to do then to be able to create that space? Because I know we're saying it, but how do we do it? So you know what I mean? So if someone's watching and hearing this, they're probably saying, yeah, I want to do it too, but maybe they have no clue how to even do that. Do you know what I mean? So how do we open that space up so the person can do that? Manuel, you're the last one to speak, so I'll let you go again and I'll get it right.
You know what? I have a thing here that respect. I don't just respect you because you're older than me. Respect is earned, and I have a thing I do with my children that I talk to you like I'm talking. Like I don't talk to you like a child. I feel like what we do as well. We underestimate the knowledge or how sharp kids are. So I say start with having an open conversation with them. Let them know that you can come to them. Because then, if they're forever coming to you, but you don't come to them, or they never know nothing about you, in my case, I invite them to my place. I let them come and see what daddy gets up to on a daily basis. I'll call them. I'll tell them about my day, and in return, they tell me about their day. And we have an open conversation with each other, where it's not even a thing of like, oh, he's the dad, he's they're the children, and I want to break that barrier of, oh, I'm your dad. What I say goes. No. We both you express your feelings, I express my feelings, and we both understand each other that, okay, this is where we're both coming from. And I feel like that's a good place to start. Communicating with your kids is a good place to start. Don't just see it as, oh, they're children. They don't know what they're saying, or they don't know what they're doing. Half the time, yeah, if you listen to these kids, they speak sense. Without even being trying to, be all religious into it. Yeah? It says unless you're like this little children, one cannot enter the kingdom of God. So in other words, yeah, with that, it means coming with the innocence that children come with. Because when they ask questions, they speak their mind. They don't sugarcoat it. They'll tell the truth. Like, oh, dad, you haven't bathed, you stink. Like, you will say it's rude. But that's how it is. They're open, and I don't dismiss them. I don't dismiss them. I'm like, good, yes. You see, that's why you should bath too, because when you don't bath, you start smelling, and people tell you that you stink. So you have an open conversation with them, and yeah, just don't make it too. I think Ben mentioned it earlier. Don't like a schedule. Okay, 7 o'clock. Okay, you can come and talk to me now. Like, make it open and free. And so that's where I'll start from anyway.
I love that. Alex, talk to me. What are you saying? How do we implement and get that open safety for these kids to be able to come to us and be free and have conversations with daddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna just go off what Emmanuel says, because he made some very good points there again. But it is about communication, and it's like it always, how I would see it is, every conversation you have with your child is going to determine the course of your relationship with them. So for instance, now when they're young and they've pooed on themselves, and they come to you and they say, daddy, I poo-pooed, and you start shouting, you start getting annoyed, and you start acting in a way that's not positive, then that's gonna cause the relationship to be like, okay, I've got to be careful with the things that I tell daddy, because he might flip out. So you know what I mean? So even with me and my relationship with my dad, things are better now, by the grace of God. But before, even just to ask him if I could have maybe something from the fridge, I would panic.
We all panicked.
Like, he's gonna come up to me and be
that
like,
fridge?
what do you want out of the fridge? Or you know what I'm saying? So, and because of that, as we got older,
you become distant.
Talking to my dad about sex or talking to my dad about girls, I never did that. And I just kind of had to figure it out from what my friends were telling me. And then obviously that's how I ended up having a kid outside of marriage, whatever. I mean, obviously, I thank God I had my mom, but you know, with your mom, it's just like she tells you don't have sex before marriage because it's what the Bible says, don't have sex before marriage. But okay, but why? Why does the Bible say this? You know, there's these things that the dad can actually explain better than the mom can explain.
I get you.
So I would definitely say that in the beginning, that's where the relationships really gets determined. So, you know, I feel for me, how I started was just like what Emmanuel said, having very open, honest, transparent conversations with my son. My son tells me something that I'm not happy with, or that he's done something bad or whatever. My reaction isn't to, you know, have a huff and puff and, you know, be like, why did you do this, and and beat him down about it. It's about being, okay, this isn't good, but you know, you could have done this in a better way. So now he's understand that, okay, wow, my dad isn't gonna get all aggro at me if I do something bad. So I can tell him these things, and you know, the consequences aren't gonna be as crazy as I feared that they would be. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say really speaking with your child with intention, definitely being intentional about how you speak to your child and the things you talk to your child about. Those are definitely how you build the foundations for a very positive relationship with your children. 100%.
I appreciate that, Alex. Ben, talk to me, man.
Yes, sir.
Creating that safe
Alex
space.
and Emmanuel, they hit the nail on the head. Really, I can't really say anything else to that. Just be intentional, like what Alex was saying. You know, be intentional about how you speak, how you address certain things. You know, be available, even if you don't find something funny and they're laughing, laugh with them. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's the smallest things that count to a child that makes them know that their dad is present and is emotionally there for them. You know, of course, like what Emmanuel was saying about, you know, his son, like, you know, man up, all these things. No, like, they're kids, let them grow, let them express themselves. Otherwise, we'll end up having kids who end up resenting their fathers because the father was always hard on them or harsh on them. Of course, yeah, we must discipline our child, but there's a way to discipline a child without actually like being harsh on them. You know, there's ways of making them understand that, hey, look, what you did was wrong, or look, well done on doing something. And like with my daughter, every morning she comes and she's always jumping on top of me, even though I'm tired. Like, I might have had like a really late night. That small reaction can determine how the day will go. You know, am I going to be angry at her because she jumped on top of me, or am I going to be like, princess, relax? You know, it's how everything changes. You know, it's what, and it's what you. How do I put it? It's like what you react to that situation would determine their mood for the rest of the day, and then their thought process about you. And that's what happens with a lot of guys, is that their reaction to certain things causes the son or the daughter to end up going to the mother, or end up going to somebody else. For example, when your kids get older, because of your reaction, they end up confining in other people outside of the house. So it's about you being intentional about how you react to certain things and how you look after them. Again, yes, we are men, we're meant to provide for our family, but what's the point in providing money when you're not providing yourself? You know, kids always want their parent or their dad to be around, even as small as like, dad, I want, like, my son loves Power Rangers, right? I'm not into Power Rangers anymore because the Power Rangers I see now is trash. But
It's not Mighty Morphin.
it doesn't make sense. The Power Rangers I see now. Do you get what I mean? You know, but I remember he came to my house and I hadn't seen him for a long time because of COVID. And so I just said to myself, do you know what? Let me introduce him to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Come
You
on.
get what I'm saying? And we ended up just binging on Power Rangers for hours. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I didn't know that." And I was like, "Yes, this how." Do you get what I'm saying? And for that, he just couldn't stop talking about it. So when we called his cousin, he just said, "Oh, me and my dad was just like," and that just made me feel so good because I never got that kind of attention. Do you get what I'm saying? I never got that type of love, and I didn't have to go and buy him anything. Like, you know, he didn't expect me to do anything. He just wanted me to be there. So being present and being intentional is the most important thing. How you react to a particular situation will determine their mood and how they think of you and who they will confide in later.
It's a little moment there, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah.
got me a bit teary, like, oh.
It's got a little bit teary. The Mighty Morphin thing got me there. You know what I'm saying? What a son bonding moment
It's
that
morphin'
was.
time.
They don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? No,
These kids of today will never know, man.
they will never know. They will never know. Great cartoons and great shows. Then you know what I mean with substance. Great. I mean, I really appreciate everyone sharing that as well. I think as you guys have shared. I guess I want to ask this question then and take it to my actual original questions. I've just been flowing for the past few minutes. What was your initial expectations when you knew you were going to become a father? Like, what were your expectations when you when you heard, yes, Ben, Alex, Emmanuel, it's your time to come father? You know, since Ben, you went last, so I'm gonna let you go first. Ben, what was your expectations?
I failed twice the first time. So let me just be honest. And you already know me, bro. Like I've always when my daughter was born, right? I had this like image that it was just gonna be roses and petals on the floor, and I was gonna hold my child up like Lion King. Do you get what I'm saying? I did not know that it was gonna be the complete opposite. You know, like Jesus Christ. You know, and so and it was the same thing when my son was born as well, because of and I realized that the dynamics of relationship between yourself and well, I would say myself and like my son's mum or my daughter's mum determines how far you go with your child. Like that being the foundation can literally make or break how you develop with your child.
What do you mean by
that
that?
makes sense.
No, go on, explain it. What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? So, for example, me and my daughter's mum, we didn't really get off on the best of foot when my daughter was born. So I remember I was at a gig because I play drums, right? So I was at a gig, and I got a phone call saying that she's about to go into labor, and I couldn't get to the hospital. So by the time I had called back and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to, like, it was like, yeah, the baby's ready. I flipped. I was like, look, like, why did you not wait for me? Like, I'm trying to get, I'm at this gig to make money for us. Do you get what I'm saying? I didn't know that reaction, had also destroyed her because she had just gone through a lot of pain. Do you get what I'm saying? Giving birth is not an easy thing. And that small thing that I did, it literally was like the beginning of like a volcano about to be erupted. Do you get what I'm saying? Two angry people, and I had no remorse towards my daughter's mum when she was giving birth, and that was the wrong thing for me to do. It never really got me the chance to really be present because it was awkward when I got to the hospital. Everyone was like, yeah, but look at the way he, do you know what I'm saying? And the same thing for my son's mum as well. Like, I didn't even learn from the first time. Do you get what I'm saying? But
Okay.
I thank God for the fact that I had another opportunity to put things right. So I remember when me and my wife, we got married and she was giving birth, I made sure that I was in every single appointment, every single meeting with doctors, every single scan. Like, I made sure that I wasn't missing anything. Why? Because I wanted to make this thing right. Do you get where I'm coming from? So even during the labor, I was telling the doctor, move, let me do the thing. Do you get what I'm saying? And I realized that the dynamics of me just being present and me just being there and supporting my wife, it changed everything in the labor room. Like everything. And because of that, I ended up doing like this thing, skin to skin, all that stuff. Like, I didn't know, and I felt as if I was giving birth for the first time. Like, it made me forget that I had made 2 mistakes prior because I had learned from that. And now the bond that me and my daughter have is completely different to how I thought it would have been. Why? Because I was present at the very beginning. And the way I reacted to my wife was different to the way that I reacted previously. So I even had to like make an apology and just say sorry to my son's mum and my daughter's mum because I realized the importance of labor. You just being present and being encouraging. It goes all the way, even as small as being there for a scan or an appointment. it changes the dynamics of you and your child. Why? Because when a child grows up, their mum will be able to say, "This is what your dad did while you were growing up." That's why I'm trying to fix everything that I did wrong back then, so that they have the right mentality and perception of me as a father now. Do you get where I'm coming from? So I hope that helps, and answers that question.
Manuel, you're talkative. Go for it.
Before we move on, yeah, I'm not trying to take over. I'm not trying to take over. I just need to ask Ben a question.
I know what you're gonna ask.
Wait, what am I gonna ask?
But actually, I don't know. But I think I know you. Go on.
So, of recently, we had a conversation, on that. So I said a statement. I said, that a man does not choose. A man does not choose to have a baby. He chooses the woman to have a baby with. And and then following by that, what I meant was that when you're a woman that you love, the bond or the love that you have for that child hits differently if you was to have a child with somebody that kind of like you was dating, or it was just put on you. Next minute you're pregnant and you now have to step up to be a father. Like, so the question I have for you here was that love different with your son and daughter previously? Is the love different, or would you say the love is different to the love that you have for your daughter now in the marriage?
That's a good question. It made a big difference, definitely. I'll use my son as an example. Like, me and his mum, we never got along at all, and I realized that affected the way that I looked at my son, because whenever I look at my son, I see his mum. Yeah. Now with my daughter's mum, because we were like childhood like loves, like, that was like my first proper like girlfriend that I thought one day I'd marry. So the love for my daughter was always going to be there, irrespective of anything. What I had to do, and when I gave my life to Christ now, what I had to now do is unlearn how much I dislike my son's mum, unlearn how much I dislike my daughter's mum because of whatever situation was going on. And this was even before my daughter was born. I now had to see my son's mum and my daughter's mum as guardians or custodians over my child. So I now have to, even though there might be tension, like, for example, me and my daughter's mum, we're not the best of friends right now. Do you get what I'm saying? We're still trying to figure that side of life out. But I still have to love them irrespective of anything. Why? Because they're the core guardians of my child. My child doesn't have the means of saying, I want to go and live with dad right now, because they're not 18. And so we have to wait until that. So I then had to unlearn how much I dislike the person in order for me to start loving my child. I then had to start seeing my child not for the fact that that's your mom, but seeing the child as that's my own. And then when I started doing that and started seeing my children for my children, that's when all the hate or the dislike between myself and my son's mum or my daughter's mum, it started to change. Do you get where I'm coming from? So now you can put me in the same room as my son's mum. I'm not going to get angry anymore, because I had to unlearn all the issues that had happened in the past. Now my son can freely come to the house without me thinking, oh, your mum is this person. Now, if once the situation between my daughter's mum and all these things are sorted, my daughter can come freely, because why? I've unlearned all the issues that I've had. And what I had to do is I had to take responsibility for the fact that I caused all the problems.
This is where men will struggle, isn't
it? For me personally, that's where I feel like sometimes as men we fail, because we want to point the fingers back at them. When really and truly, why don't we look at where we've seen our faults? And sometimes it's difficult, because sometimes we might even be in the right. Like there were so many times where I can put up and say, hey, but I did this right. But sometimes you have to forget about that and just say, look, I identified that I have done this wrong. So how can I unlearn that by now me loving my child for who my child is? Because whether you like it or not, that person is always going to be in your life. No matter what, no matter how many guys she gets with, no matter how many relationships they get into, that child who's in their house, that is your seed there. So you have to unlearn all these things, and it's difficult. It took me time. Don't get me wrong. My daughter is 8 now, It took me 7 years to understand that. 7 good years to understand that. And it takes discipline to be able to say, I need to separate myself and apologize for what I have done wrong, even if they don't even do it. Why? Because your child's life is at risk of blaming you in the end. And that's what I didn't want. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Answers
So
a lot of men's
now
questions.
me, I don't point fingers at anybody anymore. Rather, what I do is I direct them and say, this is what I did wrong. And this is what I'm doing to fix the situation. You know, and if it's a situation that can't be fixed, trust me, when you put your hands up and say, I've done wrong, eventually one day your child will come to you and say, Dad, what happened? And then you tell them the truth.
Yep.
They will always look at how you reacted, how you behaved. Do you get where I'm coming from? So I hope that makes sense.
Do you know what, bro? Number one, thank you. Number two, Emmanuel, thank you for the question. Listen, I'll keep it short. This is one of the most important things that I think this generation needs. Absolutely. Especially for us men. It's one of the most important things. Because what you touched on is how the children are affected simply by reactions. And that irrespective of anything, in the end, you actually lose if you're trying to be right all the time. But let me let the conversation flow. Manuel, I don't even know what question I even asked in the beginning. What did I even ask in the beginning, bro? I don't even know what I asked.
What was our expectations?
Yeah,
when we
Just tears in my eye, bro. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. This is the stuff we need, man. Cheese and bread.
Listen,
Come on,
I'm really gonna think, yo, Ben, I'm gonna bring up my podcast. Like we're gonna need you, bro.
No,
but anyways, we talk after. My expectations. Do you know what? Yeah. The first thing I think of was how am I gonna tell my mum? That was the first thing that was running through my head. Like how am I gonna tell my mum? Even on both occasions, it was like how am I gonna tell my mum? And I just feel like again, I feel like as a guy, you're never ready. You're never ready. Whether you're 30, 40, you're never ready. Because even having conversations with older guys that have been in a situation, it still comes as a shock to them because it's like unless you've both planned to have a child, majority of the time it comes to shock for the guy. So my expectations, again, I didn't have no expectations really. It was more of like how am I gonna tell my mom, how am I gonna navigate through this? And I think for me it was just making myself knowing what I want for myself. I feel coming from a Christian background, it's you must now marry her. And I feel like if I allowed myself to be pushed and pulled all over the place and not make decisions for myself, then it would have probably ruined things going further. So I think for me, my focus was more on making sure I knew what I wanted and how I was going to move forward on the occasion. So I didn't really have any expectations. Mine was just how am I going to tell my mum? That's the honest truth.
I hear that, bro. I heard that. Appreciate it. Alex, talk to me, man. What were your expectations? You got told your daddy, you told your father. What was your expectations, sir?
Man. So when I'll just do a very quick story. So when I first got told, because I was with her when she did the test, so we find out that she's pregnant.
Oh, you was over when she did the test. Damn.
Yeah. We were in a relationship. I was in a relationship with her. So so obviously we find out that she's pregnant or whatever. And I'm trying to calm her down because she's in her room panicking. Her mom's downstairs. She's just all over the place. And I'm trying to like, yo, relax. And then I go home now and it's late. I go home, I go to bed. I have a dream about being a parent. I have a dream about having a kid. I can't remember all the details and everything, but I remember it wasn't great. I remember waking up it must have been about maybe 4 a.m. in the morning from the dream. 3 or 4 a.m. I was burst into tears, bro. So how the hell I'm gonna raise this kid? I'm 21. I got no money, no job, no degree, nothing. Zilch. So I have no idea how I'm gonna raise this kid. And then I remember, like I used to, so I would think, like I'd look at my dad and be like, try and look at him from a father's point of view and try and see what he's done. Not to necessarily say that he was a great, example of what a father would be, but he's what I have. So let me see what I've got with that. And somebody must have come up to me. I must have been like, yo, Alex, you need any advice? Hit me up. I got you. And looking at my dad, I'm thinking, well, my dad's never asked anybody for advice. He ain't shown like he really struggled, so why do I need to ask anybody? Anyway, so I just left it, didn't ask nobody, just went along. The first year of me being a father was tough, like really, really tough. I'm 21. No one my age is having kids. Everybody's graduating and getting jobs, and I'm a dad just trying to get back into uni. So I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I have no support, nothing. It was how do I explain this?
This is real.
It was a lot tougher than I thought it would be. I didn't know that I would need the support that I didn't have, like the support that I really needed. I didn't think I was going to need that. I thought it would be cool. I thought me and his mom, obviously we broke up pretty early into our son's life. It wasn't even a year before we broke up. But I thought it'd still be all cool. All this baby mama drama wasn't gonna apply to me, and all this. I was completely blown. It just blew me out of the water. So I feel like definitely the emotional and mental support that I really, really, really needed. I was not expecting myself to need that kind of support. You know what I'm saying? But God works in mysterious ways. God helped me out in the worst of times. That's one thing I can say. But definitely that moral support, that emotional support. It's good to have people around you that have been through what you're going through, and you being able to be transparent and be like, yo, I'm struggling in this. What can I do? And they'd be like, yo, listen, this situation you're in, you need to do it this way. You're doing it the wrong way. You're shouting at your baby mom, you're doing this, you're doing that. This ain't gonna help you in the long run. You need to be doing this instead. So that's one of the reasons why I started the Young Black Dads blog. Just to give people that something that they can use to try and like help them in whatever situation they're in, especially when you're a young dad. It's not easy, but yeah, definitely the moral support kind of thing.
Was there a moment for any of you guys, let me ask you, and was there a moment that you just thought to yourself, I can't do this, like I'm not equipped? Like I know I did the deed and that, but I'm not equipped for this.
Oh man,
you know what I mean? I want to see if anyone felt like that. Like you ever felt like you just weren't equipped for doing it? Alex, since you were last to speak, go for it. Or you feel like you was equipped?
At one point, I said to myself, "F this." Now, real talks. I remember I must have been in my second year of uni.
Mate,
F this. He can't do it no more. His mom's giving me too much stress. Like she's making it hard for me to see my son. All this, I just like no. I was literally just gonna be like just duck out. But I think for me the only reason why I stayed was literally because of my son, because of the love that I have for my kid. The love that I have for my kid exceeded whatever stress or tension was between me and his mom. And me and his mom had some serious tension. Like she told me I needed to die. Like that's how bad it was. She told
that's
me
real. That's
like,
real.
That like tension.
She meant it at time as well.
That it got deep. It got deep. So I really was like, yo, all these other baby dads that have impregnated girls and have dipped, they're not dealing with this because they're not in contact with the mom. So I was like, F this. I want out. But because of the love that I have for my child, and because I know the effect of not being there for your child, what that could do to him, I was like, it's not worth it. So I stayed. Things have gotten better. I can't complain, but yeah, definitely 100% wanted to be out, man. It can get tough out.
I appreciate sharing that. You know what? We'll even before I let the guys speak, we're definitely gonna. I think I'm gonna have to hit a part 2 on this because like there's a lot to unpack.
Bro.
It's a lot to unpack. You know what I mean? Because obviously, like when I came onto the Fathers to Fathers podcast, bro, that's the first time I heard that women are mad. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Listen, no, real spit, ladies. I love you. You guys know I love you on my channel, yeah. But this is the first time I ever heard from ladies' own mouth that they, when they are the mother of children, they are also mad. I thought men were the ones always, but when I heard it myself, I said women are also mad. Yeah.
Wait, what episode was it, man? I think dating as a father, in it.
Yeah. Would you date a single mother? And I heard some things from the ladies. I said, this is not conducive. I said, no wonder some of you guys are out here fighting them because this can't run. You know what I mean? So we'll definitely do a part 2 where we can really talk about how to bring solutions for that as well, because I think that's very, very important for a lot of guys. They're in the place where, like actually you're saying, there's a lot of guys who are in the situation right now where it's like, but I want to run because situation with a baby mother, it's not an environment I can really be involved in. Do you know what I mean? So we want to really talk about that. So I'm definitely gonna drop part 2. That'll be next week. I'm moving the other thing now further away so we can do this as well because solutions need to come. You understand? Emmanuel, talk to me. Yeah, man.
Bro, every day, bro. Every day.
Like, yeah.
Every day, and I just feel like it's gonna sound so bad, yeah, but being a father, yeah, I understand. Maybe not understand, but I can see why, yeah, guys would rather just leave. It's almost like cowardness, but then if I don't have to deal with it, I don't have to deal with it. Let me dip, and it's just one of them ones, yeah, where like again morals play a big part. I feel like if as a man you don't have a moral, it's very easy to be like adios, in the sense of there's so much to unpack. There's so much, especially when you're in a situation, yeah, where like I was in a situation where like as Ben was, and I'm happy that you got married, giving me hope, having 2 kids with 2 different women, yeah. It's just like so many times I ask myself, you're like, who even asked you? Like what like who even asked you? Like, and it's just one of them ones. Like it's you have to remind yourself, you know what, it's done. You're a father now. Step up, step up, step up. And I just feel like maybe because I'm not exactly where I want to be in life as well, that plays a part. In the sense of, it's so bad. I'm thinking, this money I'm sending out to these kids, if I now put it in a different direction, this money will do me nicely. But bro, honestly, it's the grace of God. I'm not even trying to lie here. I feel like if I was not a Christian or I wasn't the man that I am, I'll lie. I'll be like, adios. It's been nice knowing you. So, and I feel like the advice that I'll give to young fathers or fathers to be is prepare yourself. I feel like I think Alex mentioned before when we had this conversation, like don't dismiss your feelings. You're also a parent as well. It's not just about the mum. You're also a parent as well. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and it's okay to reach out. Like, and I feel like what makes this situation even difficult for me as well is the fact that I can't really go to my mum and talk about these things because the first thing she said to me was, "I dare when you're having sex. I dare when you're doing," and it's like, okay, but I need help now. I need help, but it's one of them ones here. Like, surround yourself as well with people that can help you. As the saying goes, it takes one person to give birth, but it takes the whole village to raise a child, and it's so true. Because being on here now, hearing Ben speak, or since started the podcast, I have learned so much about myself as a father, and just realizing that okay, you know what, I'm not alone. I'm not a bad guy for feeling this way. It's normal. So just keep going at it, and it does get better. For me, my son is 9. Yeah, so my son is 9, and it's like I say, like the first 3-4 years, it was tough. Even my daughter's mum as well. For the first few years, it was tough, but it does get better if you keep working at it. It's easy to hide away, but the problem is still going to be there. Face the problem, talk it out, ash it out, and it will get better. That's like I say, to be honest. That's what I tell myself. It will get better. It will get better.
The way you're saying that with so much hope, boy.
No, bro, you have to have that hope, man. You have to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
I hear that. Ben, talk to me, man. Did you ever feel like you just wanted to just be like, bro, I'm just done, bro? Like, real spit, like, they're real feelings.
Yeah. Every day. like what Emmanuel said, man. It's like, you know when Paul said, die to your flesh, yeah? When it comes to fatherhood, you got to die to your flesh every day. I mean, it's not an easy journey at all. And, you know, the worst of it all is that the problem is not looking after the child. The problem is maintaining some sort of relationship between the mother and yourself. That's the problem. Because emotions are always running high, moods are always running, especially when you guys are not together as well, and especially when there are other spouses involved. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Like that in itself is just like, because then you start thinking about, okay, then if this person's dating this person, how will this person treat my child? You know, you have so many things, and so even how you react, you're not even reacting to the person, you're reacting to the person's spouse. Do you get what I mean? Like there's just so much to unpack. So yeah, you got to die to yourself every day, and you've got to, like Emmanuel said as well, like I love what he said, like you've literally got to say to yourself, it gets better. And as they get older and as they get more independent and they start depending on you as the individual rather than the parents or whatever you want to call it, then you start to kind of withdraw yourself away from the situation that you're in. And that's always been my thing. Like I'm just counting the years to 16 when
Send them
decisions for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm just gonna pull on, like, make your decision, girl. Make your decision, boy. You got what I mean? But for now, you just have to, and this is why it's important for you to just be mature. And for me, silence is the best answer, because sometimes they might say things or do certain things. You just got to take it under the chin and just keep it moving, because you're not doing it because of them. You're doing it because of your child. And that's the most important thing. You're not doing it because of anybody else. You're doing it because of your child. Yeah, our parents weren't there when we were having sex. Yes, we enjoyed it. Unfortunately, this is the predicament that we're in. And you just have to face it. Chin on. Do your thing. Because when you're present and you're available, when they grow up, they will thank you for that. Because then they will also see where the madness is coming from. Is it coming from dad or is it coming from mum? They will identify eventually. But you don't need to speak your battles. Let people see it. That's what it's all about, So for me, it's just dying to yourself every day, every minute. Even when they're posting on Twitter or social on social media, sending indirects. All you've got to cover your eyes. You get what I mean? So man, every day. I
think the one thing I think that we've all can agree is that our role as a father supersedes whatever relationship that we have with the child's mom. I think that's the most important thing. Our role as a father is the most important thing. You know what I mean? Despite whatever relationship we're having with the mom, it just comes down to that, really. But yeah, Ben, love that. Absolutely love that, because you're been there, man. Seriously been there.
It's stress, man.
It's stress, yeah?
Stress. It's stress.
No.
And it's
when you see indirecting.
Stress. Like
indirect,
on both sides.
Indirect,
I stress myself. You stress me, But you know what? I remember I did something. I was told one time, right, by one of my kids' mums. I'm not gonna say which one, but I remember their parent told me that they would never allow me to marry their daughter because at the time I was doing music full time. They was like, you ain't got no degree, no nothing. Like you're worthless. And I remember I was struggling to pay child support, all that stuff. Like she hadn't even gone for child support then. We just made an agreement, and I remember I was struggling, and I just said, let me just apply for some random job. And I remember I was working as a cloakroom attendant just to make money to give to my child. And those were like difficult times because I had to put my pride aside and just make sure that I'm making the money to give to my child. I remember it was difficult because one time when my daughter's mom finally allowed me to go and see my daughter, I couldn't even afford. I had planned the day. I said, let's go to McDonald's because this is how much I have in my account. Then we'll look for a little play area and play. And obviously I couldn't share that with my daughter's mom because you don't want them to know what you're going through. Because the last thing that you want is for them to think, oh, this guy is not worth being around his child. And I remember she was like, no, let's go to TGI Fridays.
Yo, brother.
It was way off my budget. I said, whoa. I was like, nah. I've planned for a Happy Meal. You know what I'm saying? It was so bad. I didn't even eat. She was like, are you not gonna? I was like, nah, man, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? That's how difficult things were. But you know what? The anger, what I did was that the anger that I got from that situation, the anger from them telling me that I was worthless, I channeled that into my work. And I remember they stopped me from seeing my daughter because of some stuff that was going on. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to work hard. And I remember working hard for 6 good years in this company. And I moved from being a cloakroom attendant to being the first Black guest relations manager for the company, right? And I remember it's so funny because the same person that said that I would never marry their daughter, right? I'm now employing people with degrees. And I remember every year I will buy gifts, bring it to the house. I'll be kicked, be told to leave the place. They'll be shouting at me, all these things. But I said, you know what? I want to make sure that even if I don't get to see my child, the anger, rather than me giving the anger to the mum or to my son's mum, whatever it is, let me channel that anger and work hard and get to a place where my son and my daughter one day can come to me and say, do you know what? Even though I didn't see my dad, I've seen what he's turned out to be. And he is not one of those beat down dads who is just being a cleaner or doing some one-time job. I want to make sure that my child can see my successes and know that, you know what? He tried and he's still trying and he is something. That's my main thing. Even if I can't see my daughter, yeah, I want to one day for her to grow up and then one day see me on TV or see me doing something inspirational, changing lives, because then she'll know, okay, then my dad tried, even though he wasn't in my life, I could see that he's doing something. Then they will ask questions. Then they will say, but why did this happen? And then you can open the mouth and say your story. So my encouragement to guys, I don't know why I went down this route, but my encouragement to guys is if you don't even have the opportunity, you don't even have the money to give, you're having hassles, all these things, work twice as hard so that one day when your child has the opportunity to make decisions for themselves, to come and find you, they don't find you being some useless person, but they see you working as hard as ever before and being in a position where no one can question your position and your role. Do you get where I'm coming from? The joke of it all is that where I was working, I can... this was when I was getting to know God, yeah? If I will search their names on the system to make sure if they've made any reservation, any of hotspot, and I would look for it and I'll be like, I'm cancelling these.
Business.
But when I gave my life to Christ, I was like, it's beyond that. I want them to see me in a place of influence and a place of making people's lives turn into value. So when my daughter or my son grows up, they can say, do you know what? My dad is doing something. Do you get what I'm saying? And then when they come into your life, you spoil them as much as you can. Why? Because you have the provisions of doing so. And now I have a story to tell my daughter that because I needed money to look after you, I went to go be a cloakroom attendant and look at where I am now. Do you get what I'm saying? And I'm traveling all over the world. I can present this to my child and say, this is because of you. I don't need to blame the mum or blame my son's mum or do anything like that. That's immaturity. That's you being immature and speaking about the past. But I'm speaking about the present and the future. This is what I am now because of you. And that's what we, especially as Black men, that's what we need to be able to do. Do we have a legacy that we can pass on to our kids? Forget about the issues. it's difficult, like Emmanuel said, it's hard. But when we push ourselves, work hard, get into better positions, get the roles that we need, your kids won't even think about, oh yeah, my dad wasn't even there. They'll be like, I want to live in your house now. Do you know what I'm saying? We missed 16 or 18 years. Let's chop it up, Dad. Yes, let's go. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, oh, these things will heal, whatever, but then you use those moments to heal what you've lost, which is time. You know, so that is my thing. I don't know why I went down that route, but yeah, I just thought I'd just share that.
People need to hear that, man. Real talk. People need to hear this kind of stuff. I love for that.
Ma, bro, you're speaking, man.
We've been there.
I grabbed some words there, man, for myself.
We've been there. I've been there where I've cried. Like, imagine you're hanging up jackets, like, and you're crying. You don't even get to see your chat. Like, the embarrassment that you have to go through just because of your kids. But when you turn it around and you work hard, listen, whatever you put your hands to, God will always glorify you, get you to that place. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, no one can say to me, I can't marry their daughter. And I'm not even boasting. Do you get where I'm coming from? And I've got a beautiful family now. I've got an amazing wife because I decided to work hard so that when my daughter finally sees me, she won't be in a place where, do you know what? I don't want to be with this guy, man. I just need to go back. No, now she's in a place where she can see her dad doing something, changing lives wherever he is. And I'm also doing it for the percentage of black men as well, because there's always this stigma that's attached to us. We need to break those type of things. We need to break those stuff. Let's get ourselves to positions where we're leaders. We're taking our roles in. We're doing something for our communities. We're being there for people. We're encouraging people. We're using our stories to help other people not make the mistakes that we made. You know, these are things that we need to do. So I'm gonna start preaching again. Let me not.
Mate, I'm just taking all in. You know, you said nothing but facts. You said nothing but facts in the sense of, I think that I mentioned it before as well. Like, there've been times I've cried myself to sleep, and it's like, because it gets so frustrating in the sense of, like, you know, you're not where you're supposed to be. Obviously, luckily for me, I haven't been in a situation where my kid's mum stops me from seeing my children or anything like that. But more of, like, a man, you're more harsh on yourself because you're expected to be this provider, you know, have it all together, you know, be there for your children. And then when you don't, it's like you're failing them. Because what did I tell you now? Yeah, kids are expensive. They are expensive as they can be, you know. And then having to swallow your pride and just be like, this month I don't have enough, but here's what I have. And there'll be times where I go through some period where I can't give anything at all, you know. But it's not even coming from them. It's more coming from me, in the sense of, like, I'm not fulfilling my full potential as a father. That, you know, almost like what I went through, they're going through it again, where it's like they come to me and, oh, not now, next time. And being a father as well, being able to provide for your children when they ask for things. So yeah, you spoke to me, man. I'm never gonna lie. You spoke to me. So thank you.
You know, I'll just share one last thing just to encourage you, Emmanuel. You know, like, as I said, I had a very, very good job, and then I was talking to Kojo last week on YouTube Live. Like, I'm in full-time ministry now, and I moved from a 6-figure position to 0. You know, like,
that's your business.
I had to make a drastic decision, and imagine, like, being in such an influential position that I was in, to follow what God was telling me to do. I had to put that all at risk. And I'm talking about, like, because child support was taking money out my account anyway. So it wasn't a thing where, like, do you get where I'm coming from? You know, I was always able to provide every month, but I realized that was not doing anything. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't present for my child. And as much as I was working and making money, I was hardly at home because I was doing almost 14-hour shifts, like, a day, you know, working 6 days a week. So when I heard the voice of God, and God was like, going to full-time ministry, I didn't know. I was thinking, and I was getting hard on myself. I was like, how would I be able to provide for my kids? even being a married man now, having a house, having a daughter that is present every day. But I'm telling you, between March and now, God has been faithful. I might not be able to look after my children the way that I would like to, like take them on holidays, all these things. But I've been present much more than I've ever been in my daughter's life and in my son's life as well. So even now, like I made an agreement with my mum. I was like, Mum, make sure that you can take my son. If I can't take him as much as I can, make sure that you're there. Whatever I can do to provide for you at home, make sure that my son is at least around his uncles and his aunties and is around his grandma, like at least. And that has been more beneficial than me having to give money every month. That's been much more effective, much more effective. And then, you know, the joke of it all, I've traveled much more than I have done when I had money. With no money. Do you get what I'm saying? I've been able to be in positions of influence and sit down with people who have power in different countries because of me listening to the voice of God and me risking it all. I don't have everything right now. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have everything right now. And I know that God is going to sort things out. But I've been more present in my, like, I live with my daughter now, who's my, the last born, and with my wife. I've been more present than ever. My wife can work. Obviously, she's working remotely because of COVID, but I have the child. Like, you get what I'm saying? I'm there. Now, my daughter's not crying for her mum no more. She's like, where's dad at? Do you get what I'm saying? So when I traveled and I went to go and do the work that I needed to do, every day, where's dad at? Where's dad at? Before, she was always crying for her mum because I was hardly around. But now it's like, where's dad? Now I'm about to travel again to do some mission work. It's the same. People see, okay, then you're doing something great. Why? Because I've just decided that I need to stop being hard on myself. Stop putting myself down. Sometimes you end up being your worst critic, and that can destroy you. Bro, let me tell you something. You are doing well. Same thing for Alex. You guys are doing, why? Because you guys have been intentional about being present in your child's life. Forget about what we go through our baby mums and all that stuff. Drama will always be there. We're human beings. It's inevitable. That's always going to be there. But the fact that you are there for your child and you're on this platform, being able to open up and speak, it means a lot. We don't have enough fathers who are willing to speak about their situations. We don't have enough fathers who are able to encourage other people. Black men don't encourage black men. And so we need to have more of these things. And that's why I always give credit to Kojo. Like, these kind of platforms, it helps rebuild people. There are black men who are listening now who are probably thinking, I've been in that same position. I'm proud of everyone that is just working hard to be there for their child. Even if you're not allowed to see your kids, keep working hard. Keep being there. Whether money's there or not, money doesn't do anything. But you being intentional and being present for your child. And then the little that you have, when you can buy one or two things here or there, it goes a long way. I couldn't buy anything for my son for Christmas. I couldn't. But he came round and he had the best time. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was a reunion. That was much more than anything. So please, like Emmanuel and Alex, like, I want to encourage you guys, keep doing what you're doing. And whatever position that you have at work, work harder. Like, we need more CEOs, more directors, all these things. Let's do it. So that when our kids get older, they can say, I want to be like my dad. You know what I'm saying, you know, so that's my encouragement, man. You know, well done to all of you guys, and keep pushing.
No, real talk, we really appreciate that, man. And I feel like it's not even just us, even the listeners, that they, from what you're saying, that it's like you're talking to them as well, and you are talking to them. Like, real talk, it's important for dads and just black men in general to just be vulnerable. And I appreciate Emmanuel and everybody else just being able to just talk about the things that they've really struggled with. And it used to be uncommon, but I feel like we're a generation that's a lot more transparent because we can see what holding in all that emotion can do to you, and it's not, it ain't great. I tried doing that myself. Because when it rises up and it explodes, no one benefits from all that. No one benefits from that at all. So real talks, guys, I really do appreciate all the transparency. Because even now, I'm listening to you, Ben, and I'm like, where were you when I really Like,
He
rules
was
of
also
love.
learning his one. That's where he was.
Like, when I was 21 and I was
learning as well.
lowest point, and I needed to even at 20, even now, even now, sometimes I have you know, thoughts of, am I doing enough, or there's more that I could be doing, and you know, it's really important, like I kept saying about moral support, that we have a community of moral support. So Ben, honestly, thank you, man. God bless you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, boys. You know what? This conversation has been it's insightful. You know what I mean? It's been so insightful. We're making a part 2 for next Saturday. Ben, I don't know if you're away though. Are you away, Ben?
I'll literally be on a flight. You know,
You're on a flight, innit?
until...
I remember you said. You did say when you
let's
back,
just-
end of the month.
I'm back in a month. Yeah. But we'll work something out.
We'll work something
out. Don't worry.
What's that? Okay. So yeah, we'll still have the conversation. Ben will have to send it. We'll get Ben to record something, innit? Get him to record something ahead of time. Don't worry. But no, this conversation is really important, and the reason why I'm saying it's really important is because, you know, I think it can become very easy because we always get the narrative of women. I'm going to be very honest with you. We always get the narrative of women. And actually, it's been so one-sided. You actually the only view you only know is what women know, right? We never get the stories of what men are going through. It's easy to lambast and label every man as exactly the same. You know, even if you're there, you're not doing enough. You know what I mean? And it can look like that all the time because every story we get is from women. Men don't often get the chance to have a platform to speak, and this is why I want us to give us a platform to have this kind of conversation, because there's a lot of us in our generation that are going through this stuff, you know, and they need wise counsel and wisdom to be able to have a good dialogue to help them have a voice, number one, and number two as well, dealing with the opposite sex, your baby mother, you know, and how hard it can be for some people, that it's not always a straightforward situation. I just had a in the chat as well, talking about how, you know, the fathers should do more and take the woman to court. And it's like, listen, it's not always that simple, taking someone to court. It's not always the option that you want to be going to court to fight to see the child. It shouldn't even be that way in the first place. So we've got a problem. If we're having to go to court to fight to get a chance to work out something about how do we look after our own kids, we've already got a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? That means we have to have some real deep dialogues, because we've got a problem if we're having to go to court already, right? So this is what we're going to do. Part two, we are going to have a conversation around fatherhood. And I guess I want to get a bit more in touch with maybe having some solutions in terms of how to relate to your baby mother, so that you can have better relations, so that we can have, you know, access to children. I'm saying children because I don't have no kids. Access to our kids and stuff, without having the whole fight and losing gears, you know, because we're not getting on. So we're gonna do that in part 2. Ben, I'll discuss with you how we'll do that. But yeah, Alex, Emmanuel, Ben, thank you so much, guys, as well. Make sure you tune into their podcast. Alex and Emmanuel do Father to Father podcast. I'll put their link in my description for you guys. Ben also too, I've got your details ready. That's also in the description always now, so they can donate. Okay. Wait, I always say it wrong, Ben. Say it for me. I always say Ahava, but it's not, is it?
You know, I just got to a point where anyone can say either Ahava or Ava. Yeah.
Why are we putting A's in front of H's? I don't understand.
So it's actually Ava, but it's a Hebrew word, so it's actually Ahava. But we just say Ava, yeah. But feel free.
Okay. Well, guys, listen. We'll be back next week, okay? 7 o'clock UK time. That means 2 o'clock in EST, and I think it's 1 o'clock for you guys who are in Central Time. But we're gonna have this conversation, second part, where we're gonna dealing with the opposite sex. So, guys, I really, really appreciate you guys for coming on here and being honest, and appreciate you. We will talk again soon, guys. Have a good day, and we will see you soon. No worries, my guys.
Thank you.
Boom, boom.